Hey y'all, my name's Justin Anchetta from Honey of the Heart and Soul Graffiti Productions. And this is the beginning of a potential podcast, a little bit of a tryout for me to really stay inspired and in purpose with all the things that I'm doing. For the folks that don't know me, I am a musician and educator, and I've been doing this for over 25 years now. Something that is really coming to light is my background in environmental science and how that plays into being a musician. And I'm really realizing as a father, as a steward of this land here in the Nevada County area, it's starting to synthesize into something that is palpable. It's feelable inside my system. I can start articulating it better. And something that's really helped me over the years is men's work, men's groups, both in the Bay Area and in Nevada County and in other places that I go to. My partner and I facilitate song circles and empathy workshops, NVC family camps. If you're interested in more of that, you can go to honeyoftheheart.com. But for now, this is more of a platform to start synthesizing these ideas and bringing about what I'm wanting in a deep circle, in a deep community that creates belonging. And asking the question, what is that for you? I would love to hear what it is for you. So, parts of what I would love to go through here is an opportunity to share some core values, agreements, and building a strong container. So, if we want to build a culture of empathy, we must be really explicit in creating the safety of that container. In the different men's groups that I've been a part of, first and foremost, creating and articulating the shared values up front, starting off with maybe some quick logistics and being able to kind of open it up, popcorn, make it quick and precise, and then open up the safety of the container. How can we be our word together? How can we create the safety to vulnerably share? This is more than just sharing at work or at a bar with friends, but what is really on your heart? How are you feeling in the moment? Being authentic with the exact moment and showing up for yourself and others with that capacity. Vulnerably share when you don't have that capacity. A lot of the time, when people ask you, how are you doing? The answer is great, good. And there's so many different options and emotions to share. Something I love about my daughter at the age of 2.5 is her vocabulary for describing how she was feeling was more sophisticated than me at 33. I'm now 45, and I'm grateful to have a stronger vocabulary of the question, how am I doing now? And I can, whether I say it to someone else, I can at least start feeling the deeper sense of what is it that's driving me. So my prayer for myself and others is to find groups and circles that can help create authentic connection to self and others and create a deeper sense of belonging. There's a lot of fragmentedness in our world right now, and I really strongly believe that through sharing our deepest intentions and purpose, we may gather and glean out more gold for ourselves and each other. My gold that I've worked on is the guitar, the singing, and the production. I've done my 10,000 hours in that, and I'm very excited to be working on my 10,000 hours toward empathy and connection in community. My 10,000 hours toward leading other groups and how they want to respond, whether it be a family or friend dynamic, or it be them leading their community. We need more leaders authentically relating. So I'm going to go through a few things that I really would love to keep at the forefront of a circle. And I don't say men's circle because I want this circle to be for all people, men, women, different generations, different types of sex and affiliation, and celebrating our differences, learning how to celebrate our differences. So, first and foremost, empathy and reflection, listening and understanding, not to just respond. Working on trusting the container and creating a solid container of people being able to popcorn and churn up their words clearly as best they can. but also work on not having crosstalk. You're not giving advice, you're not telling your story. Reflect before reacting. Another piece that is probably the most important is confidentiality and how that is structured. What I like to say in confidentiality is everything seen or heard here is confidential. And you can describe, possibly from somewhere off in the distance, if they saw what was happening. But other than that, what is said between is confidential within the circle. Some circles open it up to reflect on how your experience is. You can talk about your experience, but no one else's. And I do like that capacity. One way to stay clear of possible breaches of confidentiality is in your describing of your experience, is reflecting on a growth point and naming that you've been reflecting on this thing, but you don't necessarily name who you're doing it with and how you're doing it. So that really protects the people and the container of confidentiality. People are showing up vulnerably in a way that they may not want to name that they're at these circles specifically in fear of other people's judgments or just even having to deal with that. And we really want to respect and honor where everyone's at. Another piece is consent and participation. So at any point, you can call for safety. And when you call for safety, it's an example of dropping in and knowing that maybe something of anxiety might be popping up or something that you don't understand, just raising your hand and bowing out. And it may be that that could lead to a circle and some growth in yourself, or it may lead to you just stepping back and that being a safety for you. Everything is done in consent, and that also creates the safety and the container that everyone is in choice at all aspects of a circle. There's no doctrine or something being pushed upon. There's no one trying to fix someone else. When you become part of a circle that starts having that, I believe it erodes the safety of the true essence and container of a deeper and higher level of consciousness together. Slow is safe. The capacity to take the pregnant pause, take a breath between phrases, to not worry about people cutting you off. And if it happens, let it happen and be clear around how you want to respond. Deepening your connection to yourself so you may be more clear to others. So, in regulating your pace, you may support others, regulating their own pace and their own nervous system. Right? You want to keep escalations for specific choice points. Maybe somebody wants to escalate something, but it's not from a space of I'm out of control, I'm angry, but recognizing there's something to get out here. I love the aspect in my relationship with my partner, Maren, wife to my daughter, is that if we're in an argument, I think I've named, I wish I could scream right now. And she's name or yell or raise my voice. And she said, if you give me choice around that, I can regulate my nervous system and allow that to happen. And there's been some moments where I've needed to do that. There's also been moments where I haven't asked for it and it's dysregulated her nervous system. So this is a point of giving yourself and the people around you full choice with your communication and your intention. So may each circle be a practice of bringing this to your work, to your family, to the moment that you don't know you're going to be in, that you can show up more powerfully for the next step in your life. I've already said this once, but no fixing, right? You're not here to try and impulsively say your story of what your experience is and how you may be able to help someone else. If you have something like that, try and come back with the questions that they may find the gold themselves. Stay in empathy, knowing that if you're telling someone how to be better, that they're going to probably get it the most when their own nervous system actually tells themselves. They actually grok all of what is said and they feel it deeply. So bringing that back to empathy, reflection. There's been times when I've been in circle and somebody's been really dysregulated. And instead of telling them, I think you need a hug right now, I think you need something, is just stay with, I see that you're really anxious right now, right? Are you feeling angry? A question can come up. And where they lead the process is where it's meant to go. They also have the intentionality of learning how to close the process. That creates a lot of safety, that people won't get stuck inside the hard point, right? We all have these shadows and hard points in life, but when is the exit point and how clean can we exit? Start points and stop points of a container, of an evening, is as valuable as what happens inside that container. I might come back to that in a little bit. All right. Ownership of experience. Speaking the I statement, MKP process, and all great men's groups that I've been a part of have the I statement. This is a signal for the I statement, and it's a reminder. It's very often that we start speaking about we should do or you should do, and it takes away from what you're feeling in the moment, and it makes it more ambiguous to others around what you're trying to share, what your experience is. If you come back to, I experience this, I'm feeling this, and I want this, that's going to be a lot more directly relational to all the people that are in a moment, right? It also stays away from people starting to diagnose and labeling others, right? The role of the facilitator. There's a lot of times where I've seen facilitation come from lifting the heavy weights. I've done this myself in leading bands, trying to play multiple instruments, looping, probably doing too many things. And I found that my favorite points of facilitation is when it's like just picking a flower and smelling it. It's checking the time, keeping people on track to the agenda, keeping the pacing in an area of creating the larger container of safety and confidentiality and structure, and allowing people to breathe into what they can bring. There have been a lot of people that have a lot of skills in circles to implement a process for someone. And I love it when people have that gift. And it's so great when they can actually access that question to the person and get the buy-in from the person. Sometimes people don't even know what the process is, so it's pretty confusing, right? Ideally, staying with that person and asking questions so that they may lead themselves to the process that they need. So, what else do I want to say here? I'm really naming all of this because I would love to be a part of multiple groups and see groups out there holding these containers. I see youth, young girls, boys, everyone needing containers of safety to express where they're at and where their intention is and where they may go. A lot of schools out there right now are keeping us in line, right? Here's your timeline, here's the task, this is how you do it. Very helpful. It's got me where I've gotten in life in many ways, is you take care of this and you will get this. There's a reward and an outcome. However, can we keep track of our choice point? Are we in choice around our actions, and or is this out of obligation, or is this out of what you're supposed to do? My prayer is that through these circles, we can get out of obligation and find out what we are supposed to do. And if I'm saying this, what I am supposed to do. A strong circle will help me find what I'm supposed to do. So prayers for me finding that and for you finding that. And this is why I'm sharing all of this. I'd love to hear from you guys. This is a brand new possible outlet for podcasting, some videos and learnings. And in the process, I feel like it's a growth edge for me because I love teaching music, but I love teaching music when there's these elements that I'm growing in the process of teaching, right? It's not just about the do, re, mi's and the scale and the technique, but it's about how people are accessing their joy and their inspiration while they're playing music. Think of that as a metaphor for all the things that you do in your life. Where is it coming from? When you have to go out and take the trash out, you have to go out and cut the trees in the backyard. That's where I just came from. I was struggling with how much of this is my joy point, and how much is this is my inspiration. Both are true at times. So just really staying self-connected to how much and maybe shifting what you do. I think I went out for a half an hour instead of my 45 minutes to 60 minutes because I was realizing it was probably a little bit more around obligation to what was needed. And for better and for worse, sometimes you have to do those things in life. But it's nice to know that how you're moving is from the most choice and the most purposes possible. Praying that this happens through how you relate with others. Maybe you don't need a circle. Maybe you just need some great friends that can do empathy with you. All right. So another piece is the jobs of the facilitator. I was mentioning this before, protecting pacing, interrupt crosstalk. So really staying in reflection and curiosity, right? If you start hearing people telling stories back and forth, that's a great example of someone to facilitate and keep people back on track. I love the example of saying tighten up. What does tighten up mean in a circle? It's come back to why we came here, right? To our deepest connection with each other and ourselves. You may need to reinforce agreements. And you can also model regulated presence. And I mentioned this earlier, and I feel this has been such a gift to me. And I'm still learning, and it's such an edge for me around ensuring openings and closings, time management, really creating a container that everyone can lean into and trust. If time isn't managed and one person gets more attention than another, that could be okay if that's the agreement. It's nice to create a container where everybody has some type of access to how am I feeling, and then go into, okay, what is the most alive? And there's different modalities of that. I'm hoping to lead some men's circles here on the land in the coming weeks and months. If you're interested, please direct message me and I'll tell you when that is. And the biggest part around opening and closing, it creates trust of that this won't be forever. If things get really vulnerable, scary, anxious, fearful, angry moments, that there's an exit from that cleanly, that you're not just turning your head away from it in fear, but you're naming, I have this thing to work on and I acknowledge it. And I'm closing this container now to come back to stabilization and then bring it back, whether it be your therapist or a deeper dive into nature. You have this window of time allotted. And the safety of that container is so precious. I'm naming this stuff because I want my daughter to be a part of circles. Probably won't be a men's circle, right? It's going to have to be a women's circle or a circle that accepts all peoples. I want this for young teenage boys. And there's a whole moment in my life in my 20s where I put myself through a lot of struggle and pain that I probably didn't have to do. It was a lot of rebel energy. And for better and for worse, I am who I am today. And I've experienced that. I have my edges and my shadows from those experiences, maybe some more shadows from those experiences that I need to work on and through. And my prayer would be that I could find this safety at an earlier age and directly connect in to the root and the core of my intentionality and my purpose and my voice with others. In the midst of all of these scandals politically and socially with how people treat each other, this is the moment to ground into how we can be the change we want to see. Another prayer for doing this, an inspiration for this right now. All right, I'm almost done here. Appreciate you all sitting through this if you're still with me. Deep listening as a practice. This is where you are with the person that is being circled. What is coming up for them? You can imagine a great therapist might be, they're getting paid a lot of money to be with, deeply listening to what is being cultivated, what is needed in this moment. And it's a deep listening. I so love these circles that it is about community. It's not about profit or an hourly rate. It's about what's needed in the moment and what's arising from the heart. So, what can cultivate deep listening? You can ask, can I stay grounded while someone expresses intensity? And if you can't, be real in the moment. Maybe you may not speak up as much. Maybe you're having your own process on the side. Maybe you need to step away. Can I reflect what I hear without adding interpretations? The interpretations is your story, right? To be seen and known, there's a moment for that when you're being circled. But when somebody else has the spotlight, let them be seen and known. Stay in reflection and hear what they're about in that moment. Can I tolerate silence without filling it in? I love pausing on that and creating the silence and the question. Can we tolerate the silence without filling it in? All these things are speeding us up. Social media, television, there's people that start speeding up how fast they say things, literally by speeding up the process of the video. You can learn faster. But are we learning to find the pauses that relate back to the choice point for ourselves and each other? Celebrate the pause. Give thanks. Whew. Take a deep breath when you need it. So just rooting back in to silence, creates safety, and allows roots to deepen. And remember, listening is not passive. It is a co-regulation in action. Why roots matter. I just want to go into, this is the part around relating the environmental aspects of how we are like trees, right? Where are our roots? How are we grounded? Where is our trunk? Where do we branch out? How do we reach for the sky? In my Substack, I'm going to be going through each element of this and how it may relate to being a human. When roots are strong, speech becomes clearer. Boundaries become accessible. Emotional expression becomes integrated. Conflict becomes workable. When I was a child, I couldn't speak. I couldn't formulate sentences. I had it in my mind. Very intelligent child. I could think of it all, but I had to stutter. When I say I had to, is I didn't feel choice. There were certain words I couldn't say. I would have to think of another metaphor to say a word. If there was a group of people talking together, I couldn't interject without a deeper pause, which really didn't happen because everyone's excited as kids, yelling out their experience. And I would be more muted and silent because I couldn't get my word out that fast. I needed a slower pace. My very first circle, I believe I wrote this in my Substack a little bit. When I got circled, I just kept saying thank you. It was around a fire of about 12 to 15 men. And I spent about 30 minutes in silence with them, eye contact around the circle with the fire in the center. I wasn't focused on the fire. This is another practice that was really helpful. I was focused on who am I in the circle with? My eyes were engaged, and I was getting the reflection of myself in that moment. I had the pause of 3 minutes of silence with the crackling fire and saying thank you around the room and telling my story and letting it be seen and known so that I may come back in and find a way to speak as clear as possible. So when roots are strong, speech becomes clearer. I'm grounding in my roots. This is still my work. I continue to work my roots, find the water, which another piece I'm going to be talking about is as water as empathy. All right. There's a couple other things that I said there, but I want to get through all of this before 30 minutes. Thanks for staying with me here. Core principles. Before content, create the container. I think of less story. I think of more connection and the pregnant pause to allow people to find their own voice. I love the idea of when a new man, woman comes into a circle and they find the ability to speak up when they feel called. I could weep about that. That's been my edge in growth. And when I see someone else do that, I celebrate it deeply in my body. I would love for everyone to find their voice. And in finding their voice, it's finding their connection to purpose and intention, a deeper connection to purpose and intention. What is their work? What is their passion, right? We think of hobby. This is my hobby and this is my work. It's like, let's put those two together. Let's find those more in life. Will we live more in joy and inspiration and teach this to our children's children? I think so. Before insight creates safety. There's a lot of people that want to create the wise comment back. Oh, I've been through this. I know what to say here. But what's going to create more safety is I see you now. This is what I see. I'm feeling this. When you shared this experience, I'm feeling this in my body. Create the safety for people to go deeper. Before accountability, create regulation. When I think of this piece here, there's a self-regulation and there's a co-regulation happening in a circle, in a family circle as well, in a dynamic at home. And sometimes things can feel wobbly. Where is it coming from, right? We need to really come back in and come back to the moment of how am I doing? And from that space, we may be more accountable to create the stems and the branches out. Because stability is not assumed, it is cultivated. This is where those stems can stay strong. A lot of these metaphors of trees are coming from trees falling in my backyard and me analyzing the roots. I'm like, why did these roots give way? This was a healthy, thousands of pound oak tree in the middle of the winter when there's a lot of water to keep it strong. How did it give way and why? Maybe it's just time to go. If you'd like to know more about what I'm working on with these agreements, boundaries, and creating a safe container, please follow along. I'd love for you to share this with people that are interested. I'm in Nevada County, but I am going on tour up through Oregon and Washington with my wife and child and mother. And we'll be doing empathy vocal opening workshops in Self Connection. We'll be performing in Honey of the Heart. And I'm hoping to branch out into different spaces around bringing circling practices to communities. It could be a church, it could be something else that could be helpful, it could be a family. Creating a space to express authentically. I think a lot of kids, including myself and my teens, felt the safest around the cohort, right? The same age, because we were going through the same thing. And we felt a lot of freedom to act the same. We were at that age. What a gift it would be to be a dad to my daughter when she's as a teenager, coming into being a woman, and her feeling safe enough to act as she does with her friends. That's my prayer, is to keep that connection with my daughter. And I have more hope that that is possible through empathy exchanges. Who knows, maybe there's opportunity for her to sit in circle with me. And I do believe that my family does sit in circle, and we work on creating containers, and we could do a better job at it as well. This is my inspiration to work on what I'm talking about. I'm not a master of this at all. I'm saying this because I need all of this myself. I long for community. I long for deeper belonging, inspiration, and purpose in my work. Thank you for listening, and I hope you stay in touch here on my Substack and moving forward with Honey of the Heart, Soul Graffiti Productions, and follow us, like and share on all social medias, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.